Welcome to Post-Traumatic Thriving, where we explore life's toughest issues, along with the art, science, and stories of resilience. Please be advised that our guests share their raw stories of addiction, abuse, crime, and tragedy, along with tips to survive and thrive. And now, here are our hosts, Dr.RandallBell and Tanya Brown.
Welcome back to Post-Traumatic Thriving. I am Dr.RandallBell, joined by Tanya Brown. Hey, Tanya.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Randy.
Hi, and we have our terrific guest, Dr. I keep saying that, Dr. Phil. We got better than Dr. Phil.
Right.
We have Pastor Phil,
Yep.
who has a very successful church up in Anaheim, where Disneyland is. Certainly have enjoyed episode 1, Pastor Phil, with talking about, just to recap your childhood. You grew up in Anaheim, which is very close to Fullerton, where I grew up. So we had similar childhood experiences. You're growing up happy, healthy, throwing oranges at each other, because Orange County does get its name from orange groves.
Yes.
And so you're throwing orange groves, oranges from orange groves, and I'm doing the same thing a few blocks north of you. And then everything's cool until your dad kind of goes off the rails.
Yeah.
Physically abuses your mom in front of you, which is horrific for a young 10-year-old, if I remember right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Boy to hear. And then he gets a girlfriend and moves out, kind of deserting you and your mom, but you take it out on your mom. I got to just ask, did you have a chance to apologize to her for that?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. The story ends good with her.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
we'll get
good.
to that. I just couldn't help but ask, because moms are important. And then you get into drugs shortly thereafter, and you're talking some pretty rough, tough drugs. We're not talking just pot. We're talking, heroin and
Cocaine.
Black
Yeah.
beauties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the whole rainbow
Psychedelics. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
of drugs. That lands you in prison. And you described yourself, you used an interesting word. You were kind of a predator. I mean,
Oh
honestly.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
I mean, here you are, a nice, friendly guy, but
Hmm.
there was a phase of your life where you were somebody that watch out, because you're a predator and you're in it for yourself, and there was that phase, that ugly phase.
Yeah, like
of
don't
life.
cross you.
And then you end up in Venice, and just somebody kind of Venice. I don't know.
It's a freak show.
It is kind of a freak show. I mean, for people around the country, and we now have listeners from around the world now.
Yes.
Venice Beach is.
Sorry.
I mean, I'm from California. Things are crazy around here to start with, but Venice just takes it to a
To a
whole.
whole, it's like on steroids.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what attracted you to Venice?
Wow. From the first time I went there, okay, you asked the question. It's going to dig a little bit deep. I won't
Mhm.
make it too boring.
Mhm.
But when I grew up, one of the things that I can remember as a young person, though, even in my whatever stage, and I saw the circus, Barnum Bailey Circus. And I remember them saying they traveled around the world, and I wanted to see the world. I knew I wanted to go around the world. So during my time of being a drug addict, crazy teenager, I heard there was a way to join the circus and travel with them. They had a thing in Florida called Clown College.
Mhm.
So I applied to be a clown, which is like a laborer, but you're dressed up, you get to entertain the crowd, pre-show and all
like
that.
a carny.
Like a carny, but it's, like a high-class carny, because
Okay.
you're on the Barnum Bailey, P.T. Barnum, travel around the whole world, a high-class carny. And so, like a carny on steroids, So here I am. I applied for it. I'm thinking that I'm going to get to see the world that way, because I didn't have money, didn't have nothing going on in my life, but I want to see the world. They turned me down because I didn't pass the test, about did you use drugs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So boom. So I always have had a hidden thing of wanting to be a ringmaster. Hello. That could be a lot of psychological things there.
Absolutely.
Ringmaster, who calls the shots, runs the circus and everything like that. So going to Venice was all the sideshows, the dancers, the one-man band, the people doing the incredible little acts. I going, this is it, man. This is it. I fell in love with Venice because it was a freak show.
Yeah.
It was a freak show. Like I said, even to this day, my wife has called me the Dennis Rodman of Christianity. Kind of a, if that means anything to anybody.
It means something. Sort that one out.
That's good. I like that.
So Venice was it was always that. I go, you go down there and you'll see every type of character, every type of, whether you don't know if it's a man or woman, check the Adam's apple, all that type of stuff,
Indeed.
And so I go, I can feel at home in there. I can get lost in there, because in the ministry, I'd become, well known. And so places I would go, I was on TV every Friday night, millions of viewers, and the places I frequented, so, well spoke of. So I just wanted to hide there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you, by the way, did your wife go with you to Venice?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
She was with me through everything.
God bless her.
I can't wait to meet her.
Oh.
All right.
She's awesome.
I'm going up to your church this weekend. Okay. So you're living in Venice. It sounds like you got kind of an entourage. People that, kind of follow you.
I got a cult following. There was no doubt about it,
A cult following.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you're in Venice, your wife is with you, you have a cult following, but you're mad at God and you're mad at the world.
Yes.
And do you feel kind of like this predator side of you is coming back out?
It's one of the true things I've learned over the life. When we're feeling low and we're feeling mad at God or upset about life and everything like that, that's when the enemy can come in so many other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And in my world, the people that we attract what we respect. And in my world, I always love the gangsters, the leaders like that. So when I was starting to go through my troubled times, and there I was not doing church anymore, but I'm, on Venice Beach selling incense, I had the biggest motorcycle clubs around say, hey, why don't you just come with us? Why don't you join with us? The enemy was right there to try to get me to go back to that old lifestyle that I was part of.
Now, let's just remind the viewers, your old lifestyle was motorcycle gangs, drugs. You call them crews.
Yeah.
But is that another word for gang? You tell me. I'm not trying to work.
Yeah.
Classy, maybe.
Crews, you try to doctor it up, make it sound
make
a little
nice,
sweeter.
a
and
little
nice,
more gentleman's club.
But yeah, it's gangs.
Yeah. Okay. So you're hanging out with a pretty rough crowd.
Real rough crowd. Real
rough crowd.
And when I got lower down into that, the real rough crowd was happy. Hey, they know I'm a recruiter. They know I'm a leader. And so I was, approached to come and join in. And I thought about going back out, and I'm going to be worse than ever, because I can remember growing up, a lot of times I said, I either want to be the biggest gangster in the world or I want to be a server of God. That was always those two type of things. And one time I was on a bad trip, and I can remember.
Now, when you say a bad trip, does that mean the airline lost your luggage?
No,
or
I mean,
what trip
bad
trip?
I was on an LSD high.
Okay.
And I started freaking out.
All right, so you're high on LSD.
Trip.
You had a bad
bad experience.
Drug trip.
I'm freaking out, crazy thinking, and so I needed help. So I can remember going downtown Anaheim, right on Lincoln Avenue, not far from Anaheim High School. There's a place called St. Boniface Church. I heard I was baptized there when I was a baby, so I figured that's where God lived. So I go there one night when I'm freaking out, out of my mind, and I go to open the door, and guess what? The door's locked. I'm going, so I'm looking for God. God, you're closed? And I can remember being so mad at God, that I didn't know, because why aren't you open? Why aren't you there for me?
Right.
That type of stuff. So that was part of my whole reminder of my life, and so when I'm at Venice Beach, like I said, I'm mad at God. Where are you at? It didn't matter who it was. And I can remember, like it was yesterday too, here I was in a bathroom at Venice Beach, public bathroom. Knock on the door. Somebody says, Pastor Phil, is that you in there? And I go, oh my God. I go, what do you want? And they go, can you pray for me? The last thing I wanted to do is pray for anybody. I want to pray they die is what I wanted to pray.
You're just angry.
Yeah.
I was just angry, and I can remember coming out of that bathroom and praying with them. So there was some kind of hope still there. And after 3 months of this time, this was in 1994 when I was in Venice Beach. And during that time in 1994, a lot of times in my life, what's going on in the outside world is happening on my inside world.
Mm-hmm.
The Northridge earthquakes happened.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
When I moved into Venice Beach, I was living in a place called Oakwood area there. The earthquakes in Northridge, but our apartment there where we were living in, I mean, rocked. All the power went out.
Yeah.
In that neighborhood I was in, there was a war going on between the Shoreline Crips and the Venice Threse, brown gang, black gang. They were killing each other every week. I mean, the turmoil, it was crazy. Here, I got all the kids, my kids and everything like that. I'm, trying to feed them, do all this kind of stuff. And all this turmoil is going on the outside. And God was pointing out to me, that's what's going on in the inside of your soul.
Wow.
It's just, that outside is just a picture of what's happening with you internally. Your soul is being destroyed. I get a call about a week later from a guy named Pastor Tommy Barnett. Pastor Tommy Barnett, I knew because I used to go to his pastor school in Phoenix, Arizona. He's got a mega church over there of about 14, 15,000 people. So he knew me well. And so he calls me up and says, I need your help, Pastor Phil. And I'm thinking, haven't you heard? Don't you? I'm a loser now. I suck. My life sucks. I mean, like that. He goes, you have more potential than anybody I've ever met. It's kind of like when Jan Crouch says, you're more like Jesus. Something works with me. I don't know if you guys, it works the same way with, but when somebody needs your help, I need your help, or you're this, and certain people can say it, and for whatever reason, you believe it. So he goes, I need your help. My son wants to pioneer a place called the LA International Church and Dream Center. And I didn't care what he called it and stuff like that. All I remember the conversation is, I need your help. So a worthless soul feeling like I'd never be able to even, that the church would ever take me back, or that God would even have me back. Here, one of the representatives of the Lord asked for my help. And I told him, I said, hey, I'll come, but I can't tell you what worth I'll be, because I felt worthless. And that was the new season of my life. He goes, hey, let me move you to LA right now. So I went from Venice Beach, my family, my crew. He moved us in right to downtown LA.
Well, so sticking with Venice for a second, you're in the restroom. Somebody from your television audience recognizes you walking in the restroom. They ask you to offer a prayer with them. And what prevented you from telling them to go away or blowing them off? Because you mentioned a kind of a spark was there. Can you kind of elaborate?
Yeah, there was hope in me that now I know, when God said that work that I've begun, I'm going to finish, there was that hope in there that I didn't even know was there. I thought I was, I'd written myself off, I'd believed the lies of the enemy, the doubts, everything like that. Even though I had felt eternally secure in the Lord at one time, I just felt I was a worthless human being, no hope whatsoever. But once again, like I says, there's something that triggers something inside of me. And I believe it's God, when I need your help, Pastor Phil. I need your help, brother.
Yeah.
And it just gave just enough rise where I paid attention to his request and prayed for him. Even though inside my flesh, I didn't want to pray for him. I don't care what happens to you. I don't want this.
I'm just trying to get a sense of what was going on in your head. Was it like 49% be a jerk and 51% be cool, or was it like 10 and 90%?
It was 99%. Get out of here. I hope you die.
You're
and
done.
1% of glimmer of
this guy needs help. It was the most minimal numerically you can get. That's how I felt.
Because one thing that I've noticed about your story is that God's always a part of the story, whether you love God or you hate God. But God's, I know a lot of people who've been through trauma who go to hardcore atheism, where to the point of ridiculing anybody that even hints at anything of any kind of faith. Even though faith is part of the scientific method, that's a whole different conversation. But it's interesting. You didn't go the atheism route. You just went from, hey, there's God, but I hate him.
Yeah.
Basically. Did I get that right?
Yeah, no, you got it right. You're right on the money. That's it. And I've never thought about it like that, but you're right. I never went the extreme other way.
Yeah.
You just hated him.
And
I relate.
I'm no pastor. Yeah. Just for FYI for everyone. But I've heard it kind of said that, I think it was Rick Warren that said, if you want to get mad at God, get mad. He can handle it. Get mad.
Oh yeah.
Have a talk.
Oh, for sure.
Scream and shout. There's plenty of examples in the Bible. And any of your words of wisdom on that?
No, I have found that to be so true. Believe me, I've so often and so real, and learning to be vulnerable and realize he ain't tripping. He is not tripping. He can handle whatever you got to say for him. And, then I get the picture of Jesus on the cross, after all that, Father, forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
So one more question on this kind of theme is, what was it about you where things go sideways for a second time in your life and you don't just say there's no God? Why is it that you held on to a belief of God, although it was negative?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to understand more.
I believe I can remember one time when I was locked up, we were playing chess, me and this guy, and I said, I don't want to play anymore. And he goes, no, you got to. And I always hated those words. I have to do anything. And I said, no, I don't have to. I said, and he goes, no, come on, you got to. I said, I'm not playing. And then I remember myself tipping the table over. You say, watch that. And I remember tipping the table over in so many areas of my life. But now I had something on the table. I had a wife.
Mm-hmm.
I had kids. So in my mind, that's the thing that kept me from, not going all out, is I had stuff on the table. And I know I had a pattern of always, if things didn't go my way,
you tip the
I'm just
table.
going to tip it all over,
And when you're in Venice, was your first son that you mentioned a little bit about before, was he in your life at that point?
He left during that time.
Okay. And because, do you mind sharing why, or was he kind of like not digging it?
It was when he came back, man, it was my son, it was lost, and now he's found, the prodigal son, throw the party. I mean, people around me said I went overboard the other way, man, but cool car, this, that, it's been said, like I says, that I ruined him the other way. And so now he was having to experience hardship traveling around with me, and he just didn't want it.
Okay.
Didn't want it part of his life. And it was a bad thing. I lost him on that journey.
Yeah. I mean, it's apparent that you're not just your regular guy walking down the street. You have a lot of energy, a lot of charisma, a lot of talent, God-given talent. And it's interesting, people that are creative and have a lot of horsepower in those departments do some things that are extreme, whether extreme good or extreme bad.
Yes.
Go
big or go home.
Right.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Your life is kind of bigger than life.
Yeah.
And it's still that way. And I'm not saying that is a good thing or a bad thing,
It still is that way.
Depends what day of the week it is. Kind of like the party didn't start till the chief walked in,
Yep.
that mindset type thing. And I share that with people all the time. And I'm always, because I have a movement I call the Me Too movement. When people are speaking, they're sitting there going, me too. Yeah, me too. And we might think from the outward it wouldn't be us. But I ask questions all the time. Has anybody here been looking for love in all the wrong places? Or are any of you, the go big or go home personalities, and all that type of stuff is common.
Yeah.
What's interesting, there's a lot of horsepower there, behind your personality. And it's kind of, my sense is that you're trying to kind of propel that energy in the right way. And sometimes that fire hose nozzle goes kind of crazy, but then
Happens
you have
everywhere.
to grab it again.
Oh yeah.
And focus that energy properly.
Yeah. Well, there's, and just historically speaking, there's not many chiefs and a whole lot of Indians.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean one's necessarily better than the other, but those are the facts of how life works. Everything rises and falls on leadership. You're only as strong as your weakest link, all those things. But there's people, that are born leaders or cultivated or whatever made.
Yeah.
But it's like being good looking. Once again, it can be a curse. It's just, it'd be nice to, when somebody said, hey, I like being the second man, or I like, that type of thing,
Well, it's like the high school reunion. You go back and people that you think were going to be stellar aren't even there.
Right.
Anyway, let's not diverge too far off. But let's get back to you. You left Venice. I just want to kind of explore a little bit there. But you left Venice, and now you're moving on to this
for
next
the
stage.
SOS call.
Yeah.
The person drowning in the ocean. I'm going, they need my help. So however that's described in this psychobabble world,
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those guys,
I like that, the SOS.
Where, it's like a fix. People are a fix for me. I see that commercial where it looks like some beautiful, I can't even think of the name of it, but where they go, there's huts and all this kind of stuff in the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
some paradise type place.
Like Maldives, right?
Or so Bora Bora or something.
Right.
So you see a little table palm leaf hut right there, and there's one little bottle of beer
Mm-hmm.
or something, and you look at the ocean, and it's like, oh, come sit, relax, be all alone. That looks like a picture of hell to me.
Yeah.
I'm going, my gosh, I want the bustling New York City
Chaos.
chaos. I want the mosh pit, or other people's sweat bumping, all that type of stuff. To me, when people go, what do you think heaven's like? I go, I believe it's like a slumber party that never ends. And then I'll have people over the years go, nobody invited me to a slumber party.
Oh.
And other people, I got picked on to slumber parties all the time. But so my heaven's not everybody else's heaven.
Yeah.
And,
True.
even my wife, we tease about that because, that was my first call. I go, Lord, send me to New York City, Lower East Side, be in the middle of everything, and here, it was like Anaheim was my call, but I've done everything I can to just where I live. You've been there. Like I said, I populated. That's why COVID people hated me, because I populated. I'm a spreader from the word go over there doing everything, trusting God and keeping all those things like this. Because people, it's just like just now, like I said, people are used to not going to church.
Yeah.
Not used to getting around people. So that, that's not my crowd. That's I'm Barnett Bailey guy once again. The circus. Let's get the ass going. All my kids knew it. All my kids grew up. I said, you either dance, rap, sing, do something like that, or stay home with your mama. One or the other. We're getting on the road, going out there. It took them 1 year to do 3 outreaches, 3 months, 3 times outreach in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
They never sell the ocean. I said, we got souls to save. We got time to be laying around some beach over there again. All that, man. The octopus don't need Jesus. That type of mentality.
Yeah. Well, I had a case actually down in Tulum, which is, a resort area of Mexico. And I was there on business. I was there for weeks. And I could have gone and laid on the beach anytime, but I'm kind of like you. I like the hustle and bustle. I'm okay at the beach for 15 minutes.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's
you swim and
I just want to sit in my chair.
Yeah.
It's my cabana boy.
my wife likes the ocean. She goes overlooking the ocean. Okay, looks nice. All right.
I'm swimming with the dolphins.
I can do that for a few minutes, but I get your point there. So, one of the terms I use in my book a lot is rinse and repeat, where it's, trauma recovery is not a linear straight line. You go from A to Z and it's just a straight line and then off you go. it's bumps and bruises. You know, you get so far and then you relapse and go down further than before.
Yeah.
I tell people, don't worry about that. The ups and downs aren't the issue. The issue is the trend,
Right.
the overall trend.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep my eye on, is the long-term trend. Yeah, I've seen that with my own kids. I don't get too bent when they go down, because, you know, through hopeful, you know, encouragement as a parent, the trend has been good overall.
Right.
But it sounds like the same thing's going on with you, but you've taken some pretty hard left turns down and then some turns up. But let's talk more about after Venice.
Okay. Yeah. So good. Once again, like I said, they need me, and they're willing to take me back. And this guy is a high profile, big shot guy. He's one of the biggest guys in a group called the Assembly of God, 29 million people at the time, so, he's a wheel, and his word means a lot, and so they're letting me back in the Christian club. I took off my Christian shuck shirt, Lord, protect me from your follower shirt and all that stuff. And I'm back in, and, but I'm coming in humbly as can be. Man, I'm humble. Two kinds of people in this world I teach people that are humble and people are on their way to get humbled.
And hopefully they get there.
Yeah, hopefully they get there. No, it will happen.
Yeah.
That's a Pastor Phil quote.
I like that.
We need to start a line of refrigerator
Right?
magnets of
We really do
Pastor
all our
Phil.
guests.
You're either humble or you're going to get
Get humbled.
Okay, I like it. Go.
You're on your way.
So here I am. I'm going back. He moved me to LA. There's this building on the block the Assembly of God has given Tommy, because we're going to start a place called the LA International Church and Dream Center. And LA International is an airport. So we want it to be like that, where you have Philippine Airlines, Japanese, pregnant women, just something for everybody. So I like the cause. It was a great thing. I just needed help.
Yeah.
Needed help in my life. And I needed somebody with his kind of clout to get me back in the game. So I get back over there, and, according to him, once again, the quote, he goes, "You have more potential than anybody I've ever met before." And so that fed my ego, that fed my spirit, fed anything that needed to be fed right there. I was ready to go, and I went for it. And then I had people who were watching me in the wings. So I convinced, whatever you want to call it, over 300 people from my group in Orange County to move to the Rampart District of LA, which is unreal. They made a movie called Training Day, where the Rampart District where I was at, where all these, and there was a black movie star, real famous, black Denzel.
Yeah.
Denzel was starred in that movie, and they made it about the area that I was in right there. And that area was so bad and corrupt by the cops, called the Crash Unit. Officer Perez, who's used to arrest all the gang members, steal all their drugs, do all this stuff. So here, God had put me in there to help them start this thing. And all the Christians that came from Phoenix, Arizona to help start this ministry, it got guns pulled out of them. They commandeered their bus, everything like that. So they all ran back to Phoenix, because LA, in the 90s, drive-bys, everything like that. So this is 1994. It was a heavy area. So Tommy was calling in the militia, if you will. He was calling in the Green Beret. Nowadays, I don't know, Marvel characters. He's calling in Monkey Man, Spider-Man, somebody like that. and so he thought that was me. And then I talked 300 people into moving on the Dream Center campus. I was the first one to move on. The old Queen of Angels Hospital right in off the Hollywood Freeway there. A big 10-acre, 1,500 room thing, like I says. I moved in there and just got that place rocking and rolling. And it became one of the fastest growing churches in America. It was gone. I got Paul and Jan to do the grand opening on TV there. We had Benny the Hen on the back of my bike there, and all these people coming over, TD Jakes, you name all the big wheels in the Christian circles.
TD Jakes. He's cool.
All these guys were there with me. And so Tommy Barnett was the money-raising guy of the thing. His son, Matthew Barnett, was the young, honest pastor. And me, I was the innovative character that showed you how to get people in the mix there. And I mean, I spent the next 2 years just rocking and rolling. SetFree was rocking and rolling. Everything was going better than ever, And then my past caught up with me in Orange County. I had 3 ladies from the SetFree church who accused me of being a cult leader. And so here I am, moved back to Orange County and spent 18 months going to court to fight.
What'd they sue you for?
Wow.
Being a cult leader. In other words, this was in 1998. Okay, we're in 1998 now. And in those days, things are a little bit different on there. But people in TBN, on the television station, you have all these people that answer phones when people call in for prayer and this stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It got to a point to where everybody that was answering phones was from my ministry, people that lived in our homes. And so 3 of these ladies said, he made us go get on the phones, and then we'd have a nursery for our kids like that. And he got these new people that came to the Lord. Some of them are devil worshipers. They were babysitting our kids, just negative things about the way I was running the homes and all that type of stuff. So I spent 18 months going to court, depositions, people called in, this, that, literally on being a cult leader.
Well, were there accusations of fraud? I'm just trying to get at the cause of action.
No, not financial at all, on control. Control.
Interesting.
In other words, it is pretty interesting because it's written about and it's you can research it out. And it was people saying I arranged marriages. In other words,
like Reverend Moon kind of weirdness. Kind of thing.
Yeah, not quite that weird, but pretty close. Yeah, pretty close.
Okay.
Just
these were the accusations.
Yeah, and there was 3 ladies that I knew well, people that were close. Well, like I said, at the end of the day, they were called non-suits, and the judge threw them out. But it took 18 months.
Wow.
And it took front page stories that weren't retracted on the front page.
Right.
And just clouds of innuendo.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've had at least a black cloud or a shower, over most of my life anyway. So it'd become a little more familiar.
Yeah. But litigation itself is a trauma.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, the financial and the time and the worry and
the stress.
Yeah.
And especially probably the hardest parts, I think, of litigation is people that, when people are called in for a deposition, they're thinking about one person and one person only, their own ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so they can be your close friend, your neighbor, you name it. I mean, like I says, we've all dealt with it. I got people that I've married 20, 30 years ago, and they get a divorce thing, and they're from this area, San Clemente, and they're arrested for assault or, fighting over property and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a heavy situation. So I had to fight that, but then I got set free, rocking and rolling again. At that same time, set frees were still going to different places, but myself, I got Orange County rocking and rolling again. We were jamming. Everything was going good. So once again, boom, and up again. And once again, up again after all that stuff. So fought back that. Everything was going good. Then my final blowout at OK Corral came when things were going so good. One of the things, I had a guy that came to my church in 1990, and he came and he was a preacher, and he was bitter at God and life. So I got to spot the bitterness on him, and later on, had my own bitterness that I got to realize. But his name was Lonnie Frisbee. He was a fellow who met up with a guy named Chuck Smith, who was a Pastor Cabachapa, and the two of them started a movement that God used them for called the Jesus People Movement, where Time Magazine made it on their cover. There's a movie Greg Laurie's coming out right now called The Jesus Revolution. And you'll see this guy, Lonnie Frisbee, who's the star, at the beginning of the movie, because Calvary Chapels go worldwide. Then Lonnie goes over with a guy named John Wimber and then start a movement called the Vineyard Movement, goes worldwide. Well, here this guy, like I says, was utilized, but when he came to me, he was bitter because, he'd contracted AIDS. And in 1990, anybody that contracted AIDS, people didn't want to even get near you, anything like that. And so I got to see what other people's bitterness was. But like I says, I was at different times going back and forth with my own bitterness of Christianity. I call them the Christian mafia. When when you're in a gang neighborhood like in LA, gang members will walk up to you and go, "Where are you from?"
Mhm.
And it's a trick question because if you don't answer it right, trouble's going to happen.
Right.
Christians have a much better approach. Where do you fellowship, brother? But it's the same thing, basically. You know, if you don't answer that, oh, there or with them, that type of stuff. So after all these years, you know, everything's going good again. Once again, like it says in the early 2000s, and I get set free, rocking and rolling, you know, and we're, you know, doing MTV and just a lot of, once again, we're high profiling, stuff like that. Then I get this bright idea in 2005, right around there, to have an elite Christian motorcycle crew, you know, called the Set Free Soldiers. Before I got groups, I called them the Servants for Christ, another one called Christ's Sons, you know, a lot of different ones I started, but this one was called Set Free Soldiers. And the guidelines were you had to have a black Harley Davidson, and no women were allowed to ride with the men on those bikes, you know, and our patches were black and white because that was our school colors, you know, like people have school colors, that's their little thing. So we had our school colors black and white. It's a black and white world. Either you ate my baby, you know, all that kind of stuff. You had the hot or cold, you know, was all my little things I did. So I started this crew, and it got real popular. A thing called MySpace was going on at the time. And so we had a MySpace platform on there where we got all of us, you know, a group, about 20 of us looking like badasses on there. And the music in the background, some kind of hardcore hip hop or something behind us. And we're Christian soldiers, and we profess, we go, you know, some say we're too good for the bad and too bad for the good. But we're that in between there. We are the Set Free Soldiers. And we started posting up videos and stuff. And we were way ahead of the social media game because I had mainly young people in my club. And so they, you know, they're shooting videos, you know, their PD 150s back there. And 2005 was a popular thing. And so we got all these videos. And so there's always jealous lovers, whether it's in the church business or whatever business, there's always jealous lovers, real estate, you name it, restaurants, you know. And so now we're getting all this video attention. We're doing all this kind of stuff like that. You know, we're getting other clubs and people looking at what we're doing, and we're getting Christians leery. You know, boy, they're looking like outlaws. You know, look at this. So not on purpose, but I have a bunch of sons. My youngest son, he's all into the music, like I was saying earlier, in the bands. And so, hey, Dad, we need a place, you know, so bands can play. So I get this bright idea in 2006, you know, that my son said, hey, we can buy this nightclub. It's in Costa Mesa, right by Newport Beach, a place called the Tiki Club, Tiki Bar. You know, I don't know if you've ever been there before. But anyway, it's a nightclub / bar / party
Is it on
place.
Newport Boulevard on the left?
No, it's on 18th. Is it on
17th.
It's on 17th?
Yeah, I went
Okay.
there when I was at Orange
We're
Coast
right off of
College.
Newport Boulevard.
Yeah.
Right off Newport.
Right off Newport
All right.
Boulevard,
Okay.
Del Taco or something, you turn right and
Yeah,
it's right there.
It's right there.
So anyway, you know, punk bands, rock bands, hip,
was
you know,
fun.
everybody's there. So what can I do to piss people off more? I didn't actually think it that way, but underlyingly, I did think it that way. What could I do to make more people jealous? What could I make more people, hey, look at me now, you know, just, you know, kind of that, that part, however you want to describe it, you know, the stupid, idiotic part, whatever, you know, that was my thinking, because I'd made all these comebacks. So I was feeling good, things going good, beat that case. I was actually becoming ever heard of that guy they called Teflon?
Teflon Don.
Yep.
Teflon Don?
Yeah.
You know, I was looking to some people like a Teflon Don,
Okay.
you know, and that wasn't my goal, but there's definitely some underlying feelings of, you know, you know,
Yeah.
and so here I open up that nightclub. So now I got the church haters. What kind of pastor opens up a nightclub, you know?
Right.
And then I got the other jealous people go, man, they got their own bar, man, you know? And then I started having church there, you know? And then I made it a rule, unless you were a set-free soldier personal invite, you couldn't come there. So
So you're an exclusive church.
exclusive. Yeah. I mean, the elite.
At the tiki bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now
No tiki for you.
Yeah.
now as I look back in retrospect, I'm going, what was I
That's kind of
thinking?
crazy, dude.
But during that time, man, it was like right on. It was
Okay, so you're an ex-gangbanger pastor with a nightclub holding exclusive church. Do I get that
yeah.
picture right?
It's like, where's Johnny? He's behind the bar. Wait, we're having service right now.
Basically, that's exactly it. And everything that a person could think of, the spirit of imagination is always far wilder than the truth. But I mean, you name it. And but underneath, like I says, there was a method for the madness and becoming all things up. There's a scripture verse for everything.
It kind of is. Yeah.
I find that, yeah, a little wine is good for the stomach, so a whole lot of wine must be better. And God said, let there bring forth grass, so all the potheads, it just, what happens when you get in your head, and so for me, and these were things, like I says, it wasn't drugs or alcohol or anything like that. It was just stinking thinking, just plain and simple. And so here we are. We got our exclusive thing. We're having services. Boom, boom, boom. Everything's going good, and we're having a great thing. And there was a TV show that came on during that time. It was called Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Okay, they all had black bikes. They all had black and white patches, and they all rode motorcycles that looked like the bikes we had. They're called the FX or the Dyno model. It's a certain look of a Harley. It's not the classical fancy that, it's a cool look, a certain look. And matter of fact, the people the producers that made that show came and looked at our club's bikes, our patches and everything like that. And we're kind of following the trend of wanting to have a look like we had. Now, little did I know that this Sons of Anarchy show would become a popular, super popular series. But what was happening behind the scenes that I didn't realize is people were thinking that we behaved like them. When we're riding down the street, we're ruling the street, ruling the road. My Magic Castle you've been to at that time, the windows, everything had big soldier heads. I mean, it was a club. I had 5 houses on that block.
I just learned that at your last event. Yeah.
I had 5 houses on that block at that time. I mean, we had fences that were spider web, metal bended. I mean, it was like
Gothic.
Gothic. It was like the Addams Family. It was like everything dark, and then all of our we'd have SetFree soldiers on all our windows of our vehicles, big old thing like that with a big gun with making the letter R, or just everything to antagonize the public in a certain sense that we're bad boys for Jesus.
Yeah.
And then we'd even hear on the grapevine, hey, those guys are Christians, but don't F with them because they'll beat your ass. No, there's no factual base to that. None whatsoever. We didn't, I'd been 30 years clean, drugs, this, that, no rest, nothing like that. We were good. But the stories got out and the stories grow. And with the MySpace, man, you can really, there's a thing called King of the Hype things up. And so we may have had 20 people, but we made it look like we had an army, and that was cool how that can happen, I thought.
Yeah.
And so this is all going on. We're doing our little church there. And financially, this was 2007 and 8 period. So out of our 20 guys in the group, I think 5 of them were in the mortgage business. in 2007, in those years prior, for those in the mortgage business in Orange County, they were killing it.
Mm-hmm.
They were killing it. And I mean, legal, great money, all these option arm loans and everything like that, but it was all legal,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so they're making all this money. And so they parked the cars over my house. One had a Bentley, a new Mercedes, all that. Then I'd have like 14 or more Harleys in front of my house every day. Excuse me. So it's looking gangster. It's looking like the cartel lives there. And I got to admit, I love the look, you know, because I
Gold
knew
chains.
I knew, and you know, and then we had a couple of our guys like to smoke the big cigars, you know, and then a couple of our guys, you know, like the wine where you pay $1,000 for the bottle. So, you know, we were like a highfalutin, high rolling motorcycle crew club,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you know, we looked like a gang, and it was just it was a fun season. It was really a fun season. It wasn't stolen money and all that stuff, but I didn't make time to get smart about what is it like from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't. I was drunk on our, you could call it success. I was drunk on, that's why I put in that guy Lonnie's book forward to one of his books on there. I says, being a loser is easier to handle than anything else, you know, just, I'm a worthless, no good piece of whatever, you know, that's easier. Being successful, I can even remember when I started letting my hair grow out one time and I turned in the silver fox look, you know, kind of like you got, you know, on there.
Mm-hmm.
My wife goes, "You look so distinguished, honey." I immediately went to that bathroom, shaved that off
Shaved
as
it
quick
off.
last thing I want to do is look distinguished. You know, so that little part has always worked for the good and bad. And so here I am, you know, we're doing our thing. We got, you know, we got successful people in this group here. They took care of their pastor, all this stuff, you know. We're exercising. I'm getting ready to approach 60 years old at this time. I'd say that 2/3 of the guys in the club are 20s and 30s, you know. So a lot of young guys. I had a few guys that were closer to my age, but they were all still, you know, I've always had a younger group of people. So this is all good and everything like that. I think I got control of everybody, you know, that I'm in charge and they all behave like I think they ought to behave, but I've found out not to be true. And so everything's going good. It looks like life's great and everything like that. But from the outside, it's looking like we are, you know,
Trouble.
Yeah, but
trouble.
let me ask you about that. I mean, the fact that you're stirring it up a little bit with a lot of these prosperity gospels and the, let's go back to the TBN. Is that what their network was? That had a certain image of the glitzy,
Yeah.
mansion, Newport
Tacky.
Beach thing.
Kinda-
I mean, it seems like you were, playing devil's advocate, to the outside. I think it's bad boys for Jesus. I think that's kind of stirring it up a little bit.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But
You're concerned not necessarily always in a good way.
yeah, you know, I mean, yeah, bad boys for Jesus sounds pretty good.
Yep.
But at least
But we also live in Orange County where people judge people by judge books by the cover.
No,
right?
Here?
Oh my God. Come on, Randy. You've been hiding underneath a rock. No, just kidding. But we do. So that's probably like what, the perception that people were having.
And you
of
got to
me. It's like,
remember, I got a history of the shadow, of the clouds,
Right.
the innuendos, the smoke. Where there's smoke, there must be fire.
Right.
All that stuff.
yeah.
And like I said, much of it brought on by my own choosing, and some of it brought on by retaliation to, okay, if you think so, I'll show you, that type of stuff.
Yeah. But I get a sense that your story is kind of, you're wrestling with that old thing called pride again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Oh, that's it. That drug
Uh-huh.
is
yeah. It's a
An
powerful
ego.
drug. I don't know if I've told you this, Pastor Phil, but I wrote a book with Mrs. Fender on the life of Leo Fender. And that got us a lot of invitations backstage to a lot of rock shows, and country shows, big stuff. And I was just the chauffeur, but I was more than happy to chauffeur Mrs. Fender to these venues. But what I've learned, and I don't drop names because I don't think it's right to share people's stories, But a lot of these big names, they got plenty of money. It's not a money thing.
Mhm.
It's you know, it's the thrill of walking out on stage to 18,000
Yeah.
people that go berserk by
Mhm.
just seeing your face.
Yeah.
And that is a really powerful
Rush.
drug. That is a bigger drug than the money or the
Mhm.
sex or the drugs themselves.
Yeah.
Is being admired and this pride thing. You know,
Mhm.
it's powerful.
Yeah.
Is that what you were kind of experiencing a little bit?
Yeah, there's a movie called Devil's Advocate. I don't know if you've ever seen
Mm-mm.
that movie, but real famous actors in the movie. But the whole ideal is it talks about pride, and yeah, that's always been a part of what I can remember hearing a scripture verse early in my Christian walk. Can a man take fire into his bosom and not get burnt?
Mhm.
Great question.
Mhm.
And my first thought was, how burnt will I get? So
Mhm.
I'm dealing off of
You're pushing it.
the basis, presuppositional basis of that right from the get-go in everything I walk into in life, and whether it's good, bad, or ugly and stuff like that, still part of my life. It isn't like, I just born yesterday, teaching old dogs new tricks, all those things are part of my life. And then, like I said, I've balanced my life and all those lives that I meet around too. So, hey, I'm
Yeah.
still married here. I still talk to all my kids and,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I think I'm the most sanest person I know. I know that might shock you guys, but
No, I think you are.
I think I
I think you are.
But the thing is, I mean, this is not really
Honestly.
this show is not really a religious show per se, but
Mhm.
God comes up, quite often, and you're a pastor, so it's going to probably come up even more.
Mhm.
But what's interesting about the kind of, I don't want to say brand, that's not the right word, but this angle of Christianity that we're talking about, that you're talking about, which I find really at a minimum entertaining and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't envision Jesus himself walking into a big cathedral with golden
No.
stuff. He was hanging out with the people that are, sounds like that's why I'm so anxious to go to your church, kind
Yeah.
of check it out.
Mhm.
Because when I was going to Saddleback Church, I joined the school, not the school, the jail ministry, the Orange County Jail Ministry,
Mhm.
which was pretty crazy because you go in there and the guy that I'd be assigned to go in there is given a sermon about, hey, I'm smacking this drug, and he went through the whole alphabet of drugs he was taking, and I'm doing this and and it's like, this is the craziest sermon I've ever heard in my life. This guy's like pouring out all the raunchy things he did, and then he had his life turn around. It was really pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's cool.
but like in this kind of genre of Christianity, I have somebody here in the office who said, hey, Ozzy Osbourne's a Christian. I was like, what? I thought he was kind of satanic. And I did a little research, and
What's
I
the
know it's true because I found it out on the internet. Yeah, Ozzy gives prayers offers prayers before his concert. So does Justin Bieber. Is that his name?
Bieber.
I'm not a fan, but
Yeah.
I mean, not
Bieber.
anything against him, but anyway, and what I learned with Mrs. Fender is a lot of the conversations with rock stars and country stars is there's a lot of talk of religion and God
Mhm.
going on backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Like shockingly a lot.
They need to protect themselves,
But you're like this. Somebody would come up to Mrs. Fender because she's passed away, but she loves Jesus. She once said to me at lunch, she says, Randy, I love Jesus so much, I can't almost wait to go to heaven.
I love that.
But someone would come up to her backstage at a concert, and she'd say something about Jesus. And this guy would go, well, I'm an atheist. And she'd go, that's wonderful. God loves you too.
Yeah.
I mean, that was her attitude.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But
Yeah.
there's a rich dimension you don't get. And I'm not trying to pick on any denomination, but some of these kind of standard sermons you hear in mainstream Christianity, this is kind of waking up to a whole new flavor when we're talking about what you're talking about, and Ozzy Osbourne, some of these rock stars I've met. It's kind of cool because it brings it back to its organic New Testament times. Am I missing this somewhere?
No,
you
you
get what I'm saying?
You're getting it right. I started out, like I says, because whoever comes to us, I had a guy named Bud Gaw. And he came to me back in the early 80s, wanted to get off drugs like everybody else. Then he goes, hey, you got a little recording studio because my kids have always been into music. Can you do a little demo for my little group? And I go, okay. They did it. And I go, what's the name of your group? He goes, Sublime. So dealing with a lot of people in that industry. And sure enough, they made their first album. People still listen to it today.
Yeah.
But the lead singer overdoses like that. I went on tour with Korn.
Yeah.
Two of the guys in Korn band. One of them I went to Israel with. And the other one, we went on tour across the United States over there. And they're crazy music, but they love Jesus.
Yep.
Unreal.
Yeah, we're
They're
getting
pretty vocal about it.
Yeah.
Korn's just down in Huntington Beach, aren't they?
Korn.
The guys from Korn.
Yeah, I think your whole outlook on all of this, I think it's more welcoming and
I've been, you know how it is when you get behind the curtain in your business here or any place, you get to see all the fun. Hey man, that person's just a regular person.
right?
Yeah.
Same thing, like
Oh,
I
yeah.
said, same thing, like I said, about like Oral Roberts University. And when I went there, Oral Roberts was the biggest faith healer in America at
Yeah.
the time, and now the place is being used for something totally different, TBN, the place that was on the 405 by South Coast Plaza,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
they sold that out there because the kids took over and they're doing a little different style,
Yeah.
Things keep changing
And that's what I like. You're evolving, because there's so many people. Okay. So we'll talk about the Magic House here, shortly. But when I went to the Magic House the first time, I'm like the white girl. I'm the only one without a tattoo. I'm the only one who doesn't vape or smoke. And here I'm like going, okay, here I am in the Magic
They're all
House.
looking at you like,
They're all
who's the
tatted
freak?
head to toe, their fingers and everything. And I'm telling you, I never felt more comfortable in my life. I mean, I think you're talking to a total different generation. Majority of the people there, they're like in their 20s and their early 30s,
Yeah.
right? And
it's always in the youth. Old dogs,
Yeah.
new tricks. There's a reason there's sayings like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to say like that. But it's just and I promote things. I go, listen, hey, we're a little AA, a little NA, and a whole lot of Jesus,
Yep.
because whoever you come, but I don't care if you hate God. It don't matter. I'm not
Just come.
I'm not pissed off on whoever.
Judgment-free zone, huh?
Yeah,
Totally.
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 So you were talking about your story in like 2007, 2008. I wanted to kind of go back there and finish whatever you wanted to talk about in that time frame.
Yeah. So there I was, once again, I'm up and it goes down, then it goes up and goes down, and so, thrive is a big word when you start thriving and stuff like that. So I was getting high and this was going good and everything like that. And I mean, high and Jesus,
Yeah.
so here we are at this thing, the cartel, I'm getting all this kind of stuff like that. And we're still reaching people. It's still a cool thing. But when I look back at it now, I'm going, boy, it's looking like, who are these guys? Who is that masked man? What are they all about? Where do they get all that money? All that stuff. Like I said, we had successful guys in my little crew.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day we're doing our typical thing, we're going to do a little bike ride. So we're going to go to Aliso Viejo Beach.
Mm-hmm.
One of my guys in the club, he's in a skimboard championship or something they had down there. So we go there. And then we're going to ride over to Newport Beach. Okay, we're going to go over there. And then we're going to go to Huntington Beach after. Well, behind the scenes, I'm not being very smart, that there's always people watchers. And then there's people that get paid extra to watch people, called policemen. Then there's a thing called detectives, ATF, DEA. And a lot of times people aren't aware of it, but there's, they're not crew trained, they're gang trained for biker groups. And there was rumors out that we were hitmen for a group called the Mongols, which is the motorcycle crew, and, just rumors, not true. But, I don't know about you, but I've started rumors before. I started a rumor one time in Orange County there. I said, I told one of my friends, Ray Charles not really blind? And he goes, no way. I go, yeah. About a month later, somebody came up to me. Do you know the Ray Charles? Not really blind? So my point is, rumors can get going.
I've heard that before.
It's rumors can get going,
You're
Yeah.
right?
you know, and they're like old wives' tales or different things, you know, over the years we've
Mhm.
heard. And so we go riding into Newport Beach, Newport Pier in the little strip there. It's not known as a biker gang area or anything like that. Anyway, we go to a place called Blackie's Bar.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, what's a nice Christian pastor
Doing
doing
a
and
Blackies.
with his crew going to Blackie's Bar? Well,
Where's Blackie's Bar?
Right by
the
next to the pier, Newport Beach. Is a
Oh, okay. Down on the peninsula?
no, the peninsula is more like Lido Isle and
Yeah.
stuff like
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
This is like by the red, what's that
Do you know
red
where
clam
Newport-
chowder
Yeah, the crab cooker.
crab cookers
Oh,
right,
yeah.
right across the street from the crab cooker.
Yeah.
Well, that is a peninsula.
Or
I think.
Newport Oceans.
It's right
21
at the
or something.
base. Anyway,
Yeah.
I just like to take pride
Yeah.
in that I know all the
It's
different
right
bars.
here, right next to it.
It's a beautiful area right
Yeah,
there. But I mean,
yeah.
it's not known as a gang area
Yeah.
or a
Right,
troubled
nothing
area.
like that.
Not at all.
So we go on over there, and some of my guys get off the bikes and they go get ice cream, this like that. And then 5 of us go walking into this bar. You know, we're going to shoot some pool. There's a pool table back there.
Everybody goes.
We're going to shoot some pool. And before you know it, there's some people that come in there and want to start some trouble. And so a barroom fight happens.
Oh no.
You know, and sad to say, you know, we were involved in it, and you know, police come, boom, boom. The other fellows left, and you know, the police let us go. And so I tried to educate the people that were with me that this is just round one, you know. And so what had happened for the last, you know, like I said, 30 years or something like that, been no trouble with the law, nothing like that. We don't fight with people and nothing like that's part of our history in our club and our church. But there's been people who would like to get behind my walls to be able to, you know, they've been watching this show called Sons of Anarchy, and there they extort people, they run prostitution rings, they sell weapons,
Mhm.
they sell drugs, and we think the SetFree soldiers are doing all those things.
Mm.
I don't know that at the time, but I find out later that's what they're thinking. But they can't just come and start looking around my house.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You need a thing called a what?
Search warrant.
Search warrant. Then you need a special search warrant where they can go in at 5 a.m. So in August of 2008, you know, 2 weeks after we'd gotten that fight, the Newport police and the Anaheim police had gotten together and go, these characters, you know, they must be up to something. They must be up to something. So they got a warrant. There's a Target near my house. And so they'd met there early in the morning, probably about 2 a.m. with the news reporters, you name it. Anaheim has a tank. I don't know if you know this. They got Mickey Mouse has got a big tank. They had 150 SWAT team members with M16s.
Oh my
They had
God.
helicopters. They had all the news services, dogs, ATF, DEA, you name it. That beautiful 5 o'clock in the morning, I heard the flash grenades go off at the front door. Now I have, like I said, in my house and right next door, kids, grandkids, everybody that lives there. And so when that went off, I thought my kids were doing fireworks. Man, it sounded like the end of the world. I really did not know what that sound was. It sounded like the end of the world. And then my wife looks out the window and she sees, you know, boom, rifles, everything pointed at our homes.
Oh my God.
And I'm going, uh-oh, something's up. You know, like I said, some people, you didn't know why they were there. No idea. But because of the incident that happened in Blackie's, they were able to convince the judge
Mhm.
that there needed to be a search warrant go on. So here we go, you know. So immediately I do what I always did, you know, when something happens, I call all my soldiers and go, hey, you know, so-and-so this happened or what happened. Nobody answered their phones. And they always answered their phones. That was one of our rules. And why didn't they answer their phones?
They're getting ready to.
Because they're all arrested.
Yeah.
They're all arrested, and probably about 15 of them or something like that, locked up in the Anaheim City Jail. And they saved me for last. I had everybody come out of the house, boom, and all this stuff, Aguilar, like that. They had my wife in a paddy wagon, my wife, never been in trouble type situation. So trauma, drama, grandkids crying, people.
Oh.
I mean, just terrible, traumatic, horrible day. I mean, the worst. And so they get me in last. So they take me to Anaheim City Jail. And I still don't know what the charges are, But when I think we were there maybe 3 or 4 or 5 hours, something like that. But anyway, so then they bring the charges out, $1 million bail. So then it looked like I couldn't get bailed out tonight. Attempted murder, gang terrorism. I mean, you name it. Whenever they charge anybody and it has to do anything like a gang, they have street terrorism. A bunch of things that all come together, And so what happened when we were there that day that I didn't even know happened, we're in that group. I mean, we don't carry weapons, but somebody had a knife. And so when this melee is going on in a bar, which would have been I don't want to say ordinary to everybody, but a barroom fight, somebody had a knife and swung it towards somebody's neck. And there's a difference between assault and attempted murder. When you go towards, some vital part of the body, it's called attempted murder. And they swung it towards the neck. And then they had one part, like just on his, rib area, just a little cut. But anyway, attempted murder. Okay. So here we are. We're arrested, locked up, all of us in $1 million bail. And so they're thinking all this stuff, there's, they're thinking we're the Sons of Anarchy, like that. So they not only tore up our houses, they dug up our backyards looking for drugs, took in computers,
Wow.
I mean, you name it, they just tore our homes to bits, the whole thing. And then I had one of my sons and one of my son-in-laws, and they dropped the charges on everybody else because the idea was to get pressure just on my immediate, how are you going to make me crack? They're going to go to my...
They're targeting you.
Oh, yeah. I'm the target.
You're the leader.
I am the leader. I am the Teflon.
Yep.
Teflon Don.
We're finally getting Teflon Don, and just finally it's come down to it. And all the way to the police station, you're going away for life. You're done. I mean, it was, the whole thing. So it's not looking good. Looking good.
But it
My
wasn't
gosh.
you with the knife, right?
No.
But what people need to realize in the state of California, if there's a crime, anybody involved in that crime,
Everybody.
Gets the same charges. So our first guest, JC, he went home after a robbery. He was at home, where his girlfriend stayed behind and committed murder.
Yeah.
Well, he spent 22 years in San Quentin prison for murder, and he was at home when it was committed. He had no idea it was going to happen or it did happen until he was arrested. So I just want people to have that context.
Oh, yeah.
With what your situation is. So,
yeah, when you're the shot caller, you're the one in charge.
Yeah.
You're going to take it. And in my own belief system, everything rises and falls on leadership. So, I can blame somebody, but I make myself a victim when I do that. So, so here we are down there. And, when we got over to the Orange County Jail, I told everybody, because at first, my first thought was, the typical, hey, God, why is this happening? And then the thought that came right after that is, what are you trying to teach me, Lord? So fortunately, by this stage of the game, at 60 years old, I'd learned to get right to the point. What are you trying to teach me, Lord, here? And they let everybody out, but like I said, my son and my son-in-law, and we're in court there. They lowered the bail, and I think 50,000 or something like that. So we bailed out, and we went to court for the next 2 years. 2 years of going to court. But while I was in there with our guys locked up in the Orange County Jail, I said, "Hey guys, I let us into this, and I'm gonna lead us out of this." Okay. It was, for me, it was like 3 days in the whale's belly. I was in there 3 days, and it was just a great wake-up call, to say the least. Spiritual experience, moment of clarity, aha moment. I mean, you name anything you could think of, it would be. Man, I got my PhD that day.
Yep.
Yeah.
A huge teaching moment.
So the first time you went through the whole legal thing, that was a civil lawsuit by those 3 women.
Yes.
And that fell flat.
Yeah.
And then this round of litigation were criminal charges for 2 years. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they did they keep all those charges with attempted murder and et cetera?
And they kept them all. And the one fellow who did have the knife, he pled guilty to something like that, and served 5-6 years. So he pled guilty to what he did that I didn't even know happened that day, because they let us go, everything like that. Didn't know it happened. But I've been reminded, because the videos showed it all. I mean, there's just, when you're talking about doing things nowadays, and this was 15 years ago, video cameras at Blackie's Bar,
right?
Show it all.
Yeah.
And, but the way the detectives see things and the way we see things is a different thing. During that time when I went in the bar there, it was July, end of July. So I take my cutoff, which is their leather vest, and I put it on a chair. The detectives on the stand said, when you take off your cut, that means you're ready to rumble. Those were his exact words. That was a sign that I was ready to rumble. Then I walked outside to my telephone to call my wife to tell her, "Hey, honey, we're over at Newport and we're going to go to Huntington. I'll probably be home about 5 or 6, something like that."
Yeah.
They said that's when I called for backup.
Oh my gosh.
So because everybody sees things through their own
lens.
And so they were charging that, I won't mention the name of the group, like the biggest group in the world, but they were charging that we ambushed them and that we had it set up, the whole fight and everything. No truth whatsoever on it, but they can paint the picture. And they used, during all the court time, an unnamed informant. There was an unnamed informant who never was named, and nobody ever informed us who the informant was. There was no, because in our world, we're saying, our lawyers tell them it's not true. They're using that, but they have protection to be able to do their thing. So after all that, so here I am, I've got 2 strikes from prior felony convictions. When they searched my house, on my dresser, I have a vase. Now I have a plate. But when I get home, I always empty change or things. I got little chains or rings, little things in there.
Yeah.
And this vase, I've been doing it for 30 years, something like that, all that stuff. So on this vase, one day, I put a bullet in this little vase. When they searched that house and everything like that, they found nothing. They dug up nothing. There was nothing, but they found one bullet. And when you're an ex-felon, a bullet is called grade A ammunition. And so they can charge you with a felon with grade A ammunition, even though that bullet you'd have to throw to somebody to make something happen. That. So they gave me a misdemeanor, put me on probation, and let me go. My son, who lives right next door to me.
I just before you go there, was there a verdict? Was there a jury verdict in your case?
Yeah.
And
no, not a jury. No, it never went. It never went to the jury.
Okay, so maybe is this the right time to explain how that whole trial concluded, or?
Yeah,
you go ahead, but I'd like make sure you include that because
so the detectives in there were saying that we ambushed them and that we were starting it and we're the one that provoked it, made all those type of things that happened, like I says, but our lawyers and with their lawyers and with the judge get together and go, there is no case here. There was no case.
So they kind of tossed the case.
Yeah, they tossed the case. They found one of our members who did swing a knife, and he pleaded guilty to what he did.
Right.
Mhm.
So he took the real rap of anything that was done. Ours was circumstantial. My son at his house had a box with a pair of brass knuckles he got in Tijuana. Looks good there in a box like that. And mine, that bullet. And so we both got probation. And
Where did the bullet come from?
who knows? I can't even remember.
Yeah.
It was one of those silly things that's maybe I picked it up at church one day or somebody,
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you where it came from or what kind of caliber it was. I'm not a gun guy.
Right.
Never been a gun guy.
Yeah.
I never.
So it sounds like through this whole kind of survival stage, you're kind of bouncing between good stuff and bad stuff. It's just, you're kind of stabilizing in a way.
I'm playing with fire.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
you're dabbling with some stuff. The pride's kind of coming back and making a visit, and
Pushing the limits.
and some of the decisions look pretty bad to outsiders.
Oh yeah. And here, like I says, and I'm in another thing that happened when they were trying to take us down. I'm not a weapons guy, but my sons, I got, 4 sons. And so they took pictures all out of our house, every kind of picture you could think of, like that memorabilia. And they had pictures of my son with every kind of assault rifle you can think of. My sons are Christian hip hop artists.
Mm-hmm.
They went to Baghdad. They went to Afghanistan. They went to Kosovo. They have entertained the troops around the world.
Wow.
And while they're there entertaining the troops, they're taking pictures with the troops.
Yeah.
And what do? You hold up all these weapons where they utilize that, thing. One of my members in my club is a gun collector, and he lives right off in Norco where they have a big rifle range. And he's a professional guy, all licensed weapon. So he was a member of my club, though. So they go over there and they show this 300 weapons that he's got, all legal, licensed, everything like that. And they put a picture of all that next to me like they're mine. In other words, anybody can stage anything to make it look
right
one side. But nevertheless, when you're playing with fire, when you're, poking the bear, expect the worst. Now, there's an old saying, you can't be City Hall, and there's a lot of truth to that, And so my pride was in there big time, but that's why this is the thriving part of the story. Here I am, like I says, they took our vehicles, they took everything. I mean, we lost it all.
Yeah.
We lost, we went below broke, plus a whole world of people going, what were you doing that?
Yeah, what's happening?
Why you did that? How come you did that? I mean, people that were friends, people that were close, and then people afraid of retaliation or what's going to happen next now, like I says, I mean, but my 3 days was just what I needed. For some people, it might be 5 years in a prison cell. For some people, it might be, losing your wife to cancer. For somebody, anyway, think of for me, it was the highest form of teaching I could get. I needed those 3 days in my whale's belly.
Yeah, and you get school all right, because I've been to several of my cases. There have been police raids or FBI raids, and they're not dainty about it. They kick in doors, they take fire axes.
They
They
slam
don't
through our
care.
ceilings. At the house that you've been to, that was
Is this the house that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no,
I
they
mean-
they go ape,
Wow.
and they don't put things back together.
oh no,
That's for sure.
Nobody. Let me.
So it's
tell
like the
you.
movies.
Yeah, it's like when you come across the border in Mexico, if they suspect something, they will literally dismantle your car, literally. And then if there's nothing there, it's like, okay, you're good to go. And in the meantime, all your tires are, deflated.
my
Everything's
wife-
just taken apart.
My wife, wanted to do the biggest lawsuit because they went above and beyond to do everything, and the lawyers, every lawyer said, "Ain't nobody wants to fight Anaheim.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
nobody wants to do it. They'll
Yeah.
paperwork you to death and do it." But like I says, I'm because of the mindset, I look at the value I got out of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, sad about all the pain and hurt, because I mean, lots of people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
got heavy out of it. But it reminded me, like I says, when I said goodbye to 8,000 people on my last service in Anaheim, I had no idea how many people would feel abandonment issues over that.
Yeah.
Their dad, their spiritual dad,
Yeah.
the first church they found that was like this. I mean, I've had people through this last 30 years, go, man, we never found another place, or when you stopped doing it, we stopped going. I mean, it just
Oh,
all those ways you affect people's lives, but we know that in principle, but some of us get to experience it in real
yeah.
Yeah.
life.
Well, that takes us up to 2008. I mean, we are here
Wow.
with Pastor Phil. We're talking with the author of How to Build an Empire. And in
And
the
what?
next episode, we're going to get into the nuggets of this. And the other book, Pastor Phil, is, I love this title, Forgive Me, Father, for I Have Sinned.
Love it.
which is, I guess, being honest.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this picture actually looks like it could be Danny's like twin brother.
I'm going to tell you something. I am telling you, when I moved, and like I said, I used to go down to Venice Beach all the time in the early 90s because my kids are rappers. So they'd rap down there in the pit they had. And that's where I met Danny Trejo at. I had long hair back in the day. And I'm not kidding you, more than 100 times I've had people on that boardwalk go, "Danny, give me your autograph." I go, "I'm just another old Mexican with tattoos. I'm not Danny."
What you should say is, yeah, for sure, for $5.
I said, "He's 5'6".
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot tall. Okay.
That's the difference.
Man.
Danny Trejo, what a name. Wow. So anything else up to this 2008 3 days in Jonah's belly in the Anaheim jail that you want to fill in before we take a break? And
No, like I says, as I share the story with you now, it's like, man, out of my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, out of my mind. But during that, it was some feel good times. It was some exciting times.
Yeah.
It was, it was another, high as far as accomplishing things. And, but man, came out all bad.
all right. Well, that's a crazy, crazy story. So I got to ask you something, Pastor Phil, before we wrap up this episode. It's my favorite question to ask our friends and guests. You've done lots of media. You're a big name. You've been on a lot of TV. Have you ever had a longer, more in-depth interview than what we're doing today?
I have had a lot of back in TBN days, I had an hour special they did back in 1991, and then I've had some little documentaries and little things like that. But a year ago, I had a guy who calls himself an investigative journalist.
Mhm.
They drop him off at places around the world.
Mhm.
And he started asking me a couple questions, and he says, I want to do an interview. Yeah, that sounds cool. And he started asking me a couple of questions like stuff we talked about today, which isn't really, to me, I've never really, too many interviews are surface,
Mhm.
but this guy was the first guy other than you who even went in a certain territory, because it's usually the safer ones like, why'd you get that tattoo?
Yep.
Those are good questions, but they're still kind of safer ones,
Yeah.
But,
Mhm.
talking about issues, like that. So never, but I have an up and coming one that I plan on being able to do. I'm just finishing up, as a matter of fact, some paperwork on a project.
I asked that question.
This is my most in depth.
Yeah, half kidding and half serious, because trauma recovery is a deep topic. I mean, my book is 400 pages. Your books, added together add up to a lot. The point being that trauma recovery is not a drive-by experience.
Mhm.
You don't do that as, looking through the windshield as you drive by, oh, that got the recovery done.
Yeah.
It's not like the Grand Canyon where you go look at it for 2.5 minutes and you're done. It's a process that can go on decades.
Yeah.
And that's if you do the work. Some people don't avoid the work
Mhm.
because it can be painful. And then they get to their deathbed and they're just, layered in trauma. And I've had medical doctors tell me that the disease is just a symptom of pent up trauma.
for sure.
For sure.
Yep.
I hear that all the time,
Yeah.
actually, from medical doctors. So, thank you for sharing your story,
Yeah.
because parts of this must be a little embarrassing to share. Parts of it are very funny. Parts of it are like, oh my gosh, your head wants to explode. But it's all part of this messiness, or whatever you want to call it, in terms of putting our lives back together.
Mhm.
And our next episode, the Thrive stages, we're going to talk about the cool, solid last 15 years,
Mhm.
where you've done some really cool, amazing things. But it's so important to listen to all the episodes so you really get a sense of who you are
Mhm.
and what this is all about. And it usually starts in childhood.
Mhm.
Going back to that day where your dad goes off and breaks some hearts.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the tears are still flowing to this day over that.
Mhm.
This is real stuff. And there's also a message to parents: don't do that to your kids.
Yeah.
You make a commitment, you have a kid, that kid's very, very important. Hands off the kids.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's so many stories of childhood abuse that manifests into
Mm.
garbage forever. So thank you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. And there's a method to our madness with this podcast, in that we always want to be respectful and just you share what you are comfortable sharing. But to the extent that people are vulnerable, and that certainly includes you, there's just such a rich learning opportunity that we're passing on to. Well, I learned from it, and our listeners learned from it. So I just, on behalf of everyone, just thank you.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to get back into the Thrive stage. Well, we're going to come right back and do that on post-traumatic thriving, where we dive, survive, or thrive.
The choice is yours.
Thanks for supporting our podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on your favorite social media. For books, merchandise, or to donate, visit CoreIQ.com. Post-Traumatic Thriving is produced by CoreIQ, a nonprofit with a mission to teach the life skills we all need but are not taught in school. CoreIQ and the Post-Traumatic Thriving podcast are for informational purposes only and do not provide medical or mental health advice. Always consult with your licensed medical and mental health care providers.